What is going on? What's up to MJ in chat? What's up to everybody else out there who'll be tuning in? I'm going to wait a minute to let people sort of filter in. So MJ, if you have any questions, go ahead and start firing them off because it'll take people a minute to get on in here. They tend to come around like 3:15 a lot of the time, but I don't want to be here much past 6:30 Eastern, if at all, because I need to finish my build. Kind of a surprising day without a lot of news. Like it's sort of caught me off guard a little bit. I've been a little bit sick too, so I'm trying to get some pep in my step with a little kombucha, but and get ready for a fun Friday night. But I like this kind of slate. Like, I mean, we don't have a bunch of news. There still could be stuff coming, but it's not a whole lot to worry about. I feel like in most cases, and I guess the biggest news being the Clippers. But I think that they'll play considering they played last night, only like 15, 20 minutes. They sat him down at halftime, so I'm thinking that those guys are more likely to play. LeBron obviously is a big one, but I'm assuming he's playing as of right now. Pretty much most of the other ones aren't really that relevant for me. I guess if Harrell was out, that would be something. We just got word that Grant is in. So just like a lot of, non-real questionable tags, and maybe there'll be a surprise scratch or something, but kind of weird that we don't have like massive value on this kind of a slate. And certainly not value that I think is very trustworthy. Muscala, no thank you. Juan Toscano Anderson. I'm only doing that in like Laker and Hawks stacks. And I would do it just because it'll allow me to have some pivotability if my early games go well. So that's sort of a placeholder play for me. Not a guy you generally want to end up with. Josh Richardson at 3,800 I'm open to, but I'm not excited about playing. So I'll be below the field, but I do have some of him, to be honest, right now. And everybody else is sort of in that mid-4 tier, but you've got so many options. Like you've got, Sohan, who's projecting the best on SaberSim, but I think Isaiah Stewart is an awesome play. I think that Jalen Duran it's a center position. It's a little different at 4,900. That's a really good price. Gafford, Hachimura. These guys are just going to be funneling in and out of my lineups and just sort of cycling through. In terms of what to do, like the thing that's sort of surprising me a little bit tonight is the Cleveland situation. I don't understand why there's not more ownership here, and I'm really trying to figure it out. I'm totally baffled. Garland coming back, I guess there's some concern about that, but I think Cedi Osman also, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, all of these guys are in play. Karis LeVert, if somehow Garland is out, is going to be the best play on the slate by a long shot. And he's still a really good play. So I like the idea of playing one of those guys and prioritizing that. I like the Knicks guards because of the minutes. And I think Toronto, you have a similar type of upside with Van Vliet and guys on the other side of that. So that's sort of the way I'm building today. The guys I'm spending up for mostly Harden, where I'm not playing Maxey, who I think Maxey's my highest owned player along with Sohan right now, but Isaiah Stewart's right there also, and Jalen Duran. But I do really like Maxey. If you're not playing Harden, I think it's okay to go Melton, but I'm not getting too much of that, to be honest. Keldon Johnson, I'm sort of been talked into today, and I just don't feel ideal about it, but I am going to play some of them. I like playing one of Okongwu or Collins. I think both are fine against the Lakers in this matchup, but I think that playing one of them is a good way to separate. I like Paul George as a sleeky play. I like Trae Young at low ownership. Those are sort of the guys who are rounding out my lineups along with all those 4,700, the Gafford, Duran, Sohan. You can throw a 5K, Zubac in the mix, Stewart, all of those guys. And then getting some of the Detroit, Killian Hayes is probably my favorite play from the guard side of Detroit. So that game sort of in general, I'm just making sure to most of my lineups, I think I have a Detroit player in almost all of them. I think Westbrook's a good tournament, large field play. I don't think it's like something you should try to go out of your way to play, but I think it's fine. It's completely fine. It's just not where my builds are taking me. I think that like Fred VanVleet, it's hard to not argue like VanVleet's upside versus Westbrook. Now Westbrook we know has a great upside, but VanVleet just shot 8 of 23, and I know the game went to overtime, but he had 65 in a low scoring game. He had 58 in regulation, excuse me. I'm not worried about, I think VanVleet has just a monster ceiling. So I'm just sort of having a hard time getting to him over guys like that and Jalen Brunson. are the two that I really want to pay that for. Jalen Brunson should probably be closer to a 9K player. It is a terrible matchup, and I hate playing point guards against Toronto. But I really think that you just can't ignore those minutes, and Jalen Brunson should probably be more expensive. I also think if you're not playing Jalen Brunson, you want to get some exposure to quickly again because the minutes are just crazy. So that's sort of a roundout about what I'm doing in general. In terms of game stacks, I think the Lakers in Atlanta, I think you could play either DeJounte or Trey. I'm going more for Trey with either Kongwu or Collins, and play that with LeBron or Schroeder. Toscano Anderson is the cheap one, but it doesn't feel great. Wenyen Gabriel's probably every bit as good a play. And Thomas Bryant is I feel like being a little bit overlooked on DraftKings tonight. So I think that's probably my most interest in a full game stack outside of the Detroit San Antonio game. I just don't trust. I don't like that it's going to be popular, and I don't trust the San Antonio pieces of it very much at all. And they're going to play 11 guys, so I'm much more on the Detroit side as just a team that I want to have exposure to, whether it be Saddiq Bey. Actually, that's one I'm probably going to force in. And I think that Cleveland, depending on what happens with Garland, I think he's probably going to play. But Garland and one of those other guys, I think, is a very interesting way to go. But you got to hope the game stays close. And it's a little concerning going into Denver always. The altitude gets people. So that's pretty much what I've got as my rundown. Why don't we use this time for firing in questions or thoughts? I'll talk about anything on FanDuel if you guys want to talk about that. Actually, I'll touch on that before I guess I get to questions. It's a fairly similar slate for me on FanDuel. I'm playing similar guys, you know what I mean? Oddly, Miles Turner is popping off projection-wise over there. So that's something that I think he's a reasonable play, but I didn't find the need to have to play him. I do like Thomas Bryant at center somewhat over there. I like Isaiah Stewart. I like John Collins. I still think Sohan is fine. Kyle Anderson, for some reason, is fitting in a little bit more for me on FanDuel. Tyrese Maxey, Darius Garland, Jalen Brunson, CJ McCollum. These are the guys who I'm using in my FanDuel builds. Other guys who maybe are a little bit better on FanDuel. It's not really that big of a gap. It's sort of evened out a little bit. So I don't have a really strong take. I think I made on my priority plays, nothing's really changed, but I think all those guys I mentioned I put as my core plays. So I think that pretty much doing what I said I was going to do. I have no problem if instead of the Garland Brunson, you wanted to try to find a way to get some Lakers Hawks game stack in there. That's the one other thing I would say it's a little easier to do over there. As Rody says, let's get it. Please hit the like button, guys. We really appreciate it. Top 3 Pacers: Halliburton, Mathurin, and I guess Miles Turner. I don't have any Nembhard and I don't have any Nesmith right now. They're both fine, but you got a lot of bodies to contend with. And I would just go. I'll go Halliburton, Nembhard. I'm sorry, Halliburton, Mathurin, Turner. I'm kind of surprised that Turner's projection has climbed so much throughout the day. I might have to take a look at that to getting a little bit of Turner because I liked him a little bit anyway, but I'm a little bit, don't love the chalky ownership on a guy like Miles Turner. He's the guy who can win us tournaments at 2%. We don't love to play him when he's going to be chalky because he does have a wide range of outcomes, especially on a team that has just a lot of bodies. He did play 38 minutes in the last game. And for what it's worth, he's been pretty good. He's put up 35 or more in 4 straight games, 2 48s in there. The minutes have been good. I do think that he's definitely a reasonable play. I'm probably going to get to some of them. The notes on my list to get to more of is Saddiq Bey, LeBron, Evan Mobley, Cedi Osman, Miles Turner, and Keldon Johnson. But I named all the other guys who I'm playing pretty much. Jalen Smith is out, which is why it popped. I understand that. It's just a little bit surprising to me still that it went as far because they can still play Isaiah Jackson and O'Shea Brissett in the front court. So it's not like they don't have anybody. But if they're really only going to play, yeah, it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of bodies still. I guess they would have to go small unless they played Isaiah Jackson. But they like Isaiah Jackson too. So I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes entirely. What do I think about Giannis? I think it's look, we've had Giannis with no Holiday, which has sort of been like the nuts. if I was playing Giannis, I would make sure to run it back with Charlotte because I keep avoiding these Charlotte guys because I'm afraid this game is going to blow out. PJ Washington or Terry Rozier or even LaMelo, I think, would be in play if you wanted to play Giannis, but I would try to find a run back if you played Giannis today specifically. It's not my usual take with Giannis. Yeah, Sam, just do. What's up, man? Let's see. Any late game, including the LAC, automatically faded? Oh, yeah. No, that's ridiculous. That has nothing to do with anything. The fact that what time the game was, they just got smashed. And it happens with the altitude in Denver. I'm telling you guys, it happens. Yeah, so I'm happy to answer anything else. If there's nothing else, though, I'm going to jump over to my builds in just a minute. It's a nice Friday. I'm trying to get myself up from this allergy thing with a little bit of kombucha. Bobby Portis. You know what? Bobby Portis could actually have a really big game tonight. I'm not playing him. There's just not a way I'm getting to him. If Holiday was out, I think you'd consider it more. But like Charlotte will give up a ton of fantasy points. He also could get some blowout run, depending on how the blowout works. So it's just probably too big of a play for this late, but it's a funny throwback. No Wizard. So the Wizards for me is Gafford. I like Gafford's price. He's been solid as a starter for them. It's a good matchup. And then I have Gafford or Hachimura. And I don't mind if you want to play Denny Avdia instead of Hachimura too. I think he's in the mix too. In fact, I actually want to get a little bit of those 4,600 guys switched over to Avdia just to have a little bit. But I'm not. I think Porzingis and Kuzma are fine. I'm just not getting to them personally. But I would certainly not fault anyone for doing so. It's just not for me. Thanks a lot, Nick. You too, my man. And what's going on, Forrest? Yeah, it's that was so rough last night with the things that I actually made money, and it was really frustrating because I had like 96 PMR with like a top 20 stack, and it was Kawhi and Zubac, and I could have like won everything like very easily last night. Very, very tough one. But good to see you again, Forrest. I'm gonna bounce on out of here if there's not any questions. I feel for you on last night. That was just a crazy slate. No idea what to say about that one. I was cashing all my Luka lineups cash, so I can't really complain because I played Tatum on the other side. So I guess that is what it is. I just mentioned the Washington side of it. Like I like the trying to get one of Avdia, Hachimura, or Gafford being my favorite. And I like the idea of, if you want to, I think playing Giddey or Shea is fine. I'm just not trying to get to it at all. I think the Atlanta Laker game is completely stackable. It's tough. You might get some late news that you don't like in some of these some other games, so you might switch over some stuff. Like I don't want to play Juan Toscano-Anderson, but I like Trae Young's price against this Laker team. I feel like I like the matchup. I think DeJounte Murray's in play. I think that if you're playing a bunch of tournaments, you should get some Bogdanovich in there. And I think Collins and Okongwu, one of those guys, should be in your lineups as a priority. I really believe that. And they're not getting the ownership they deserve. I think LeBron is being overowned, but I'm totally fine with him. Sort of in that comfortable price tier today, like that, we don't want to spend all the way up for Giannis quite or Jokic. But I can definitely get onto some of the LeBron if I'm going to run it back. That's the only way I'm getting to him. I think you could play up to 5 in that game, but I think I probably would get 3 or 4 as the priority. So I would say like 3 or 4 would be the sweet spot. It is a good price on Schroeder. Just keep in mind that it could also be the Russell Westbrook show. You don't know at Atlanta. Like this is the kind of team that he could just smash on his time on the court. I do like Harden. So there's your answer, Eric. I like Harden. I'm not playing him on FanDuel. I am playing him on DraftKings a pretty reasonable amount, but just because of the way my builds worked. That's the only reason. What about, I mentioned, I just went through the LeBron stuff. I think he's just a little bit higher owned than he should be on the early reports. Like, I don't see why he should be the most high owned. Like, I think that Harden is every bit as good a play, but like play LeBron with your maxi stacks, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm totally good with that. I think that's too much for us. I don't know if you want to play Russ LeBron for maximum upside at those prices. I think you probably want to pick one, but I think you can get away with it. But then you're getting Brian involved too. It's just kind of, I think I'd rather play 2 of those guys and maybe throw Schroeder, Aaron, whose price works, or Toscano-Anderson or Gabriel as another weird way to build, and then throw in maybe just one guy from Atlanta with Trae Young or something like that. I think Burks and Ivy are completely solid plays. Yeah, so I do have some of them. I have more. I'll be a little bit higher on Ivy, and I'm much higher on Killian Hayes than I am on either of those two, but I do have a little bit of exposure for them. So yeah. So anyway, so and I think that Lakers stack, not only is it a great to do, like the reason I would say if you're going to do it, force in the Toscano Anderson, just in case any news breaks, then you have some switchability for the late games, and it's not the only late game. So you can use that piece, and then you can convert two pieces into something else. Like if you have him and Schroeder, you might be able to, that might turn into something in the Miami Phoenix game if, a couple guys get magically announced out for Miami, which we've seen before. Or if something happens with Darius Garland in the Cleveland game, you could sort of make some pivots if you do that. Yeah, I think Porzingis on FanDuel is definitely a better play than he is on DraftKings, just because the shot and steal block upside. I didn't get to him because of my builds. Again, I like spending it for my guards tonight, so I didn't get to him, but I'm totally good with it. I think he's a really solid play on FanDuel, actually. Yeah, Hero's downgraded, so that is a real possibility. The only problem with the Hero news is how much does it really affect anything? I guess it makes Victor Oladipo maybe and Kyle Lowry a thing. I guess it bumps everybody, but not a great matchup to do it. Do we really need to do that? I mean, and if you're playing the later game, maybe you do want to switch over, but that's tough. That's it. If Hero's out, I think you definitely could play Oladipo. I'm not playing any Oladipo at the moment. And with that, guys, I appreciate all you. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't checked out some of the premium stuff we have, really, really cool stuff going on. Goldie should have a football video out. I'll do my live video on. I'll be live before lock on Sunday at 11 Eastern. I have my kid tomorrow, so I'll be out. Yeah, appreciate all you guys. Really good luck tonight, and let's make some money. Happy you have a good Friday.